Amsterdam, 1637. A single tulip bulb sells for more than a house, not a modest house. A canal-side mansion with servants and gardens. 3 weeks later, that same bulb is worth less than an onion. The Dutch Empire at its peak just discovered something every empire eventually learns. You can't build wealth on things that don't exist. You can only delay the reckoning. Germany is learning this lesson right now, in slow motion, and almost nobody's talking about it. Here's what makes this uncomfortable. Germany is the largest economy in Europe, the industrial backbone of the continent. When people think German engineering, they think precision, reliability, discipline. These aren't just stereotypes. They're the foundation of a manufacturing empire that exports over $1.5 trillion worth of goods every year. But beneath that reputation, there's a structural problem that's been quietly metastasizing for 2 decades. And it's the same problem that brought down the Dutch Golden Age 3.5 centuries ago. The Dutch didn't collapse because they were weak. They collapsed because they were too good at one thing. And when that one thing stopped working, everything else fell apart with it. Germany's version looks different, but the math is identical. To understand why, we need to go back to 2003, the year Germany made a decision that seemed brilliant at the time. The year they essentially locked themselves into an economic cage and threw away the key. In the early 2000s, Germany had a problem. Labor costs were rising. France and Italy were competing aggressively. The new euro currency meant Germany couldn't devalue its way to cheaper exports anymore. So German policymakers, unions, and corporations struck a deal, a grand bargain known as the Hartz Reforms. The core idea was simple but brutal. Suppress wage growth, cut labor protections, make German workers cheaper and more flexible. In exchange, German companies would become hyper-competitive exporters. They'd dominate global markets. And eventually, everyone would benefit from the growth. It worked, almost too well. From 2003 to 2019, German wages grew slower than nearly every other developed economy. Meanwhile, productivity soared. German factories became the most efficient in Europe. The trade surplus exploded. Year after year, Germany exported far more than it imported. By 2015, that surplus hit nearly 9% of GDP. To put that in perspective, when a country runs a persistent trade surplus that large, it means they're accumulating claims on the rest of the world. They're lending, investing, exporting capital. They're becoming a creditor nation. Sounds good, right? Here's the problem. When you suppress domestic wages, you also suppress domestic consumption. German households didn't have the income growth to buy more cars, more appliances, more vacations. So German companies looked abroad. They sold to China, to America, to Southern Europe. The entire model became dependent on foreign demand, and on one massive assumption, that the rest of the world would always want what Germany makes. Now let's talk about tulips. The Dutch Golden Age wasn't built on flowers. It was built on trade. The Dutch East India Company was the most powerful corporation in history. It had its own army, its own currency, the right to negotiate treaties. At its peak, it was worth about $7.9 trillion in today's money, more than Apple and Microsoft combined. The Dutch became insanely rich by controlling global shipping routes. They were the middlemen of the world. Spices from Indonesia, silk from Asia, goods from everywhere flowed through Amsterdam. But here's what people miss. The Dutch economy became structurally dependent on that trade. They stopped producing as much domestically. Why make textiles when you can just ship them more profitably? Why grow food when you can import it cheaper? The entire economy tilted toward one thing, moving goods for other people. When the British and French built their own trade networks, when shipping routes diversified, when competition emerged, the Dutch had no plan B. Their domestic economy had withered. Their agricultural sector had shrunk. They'd spent decades optimizing for a world that was already disappearing. The tulip mania was just a symptom, a fever dream of an economy that had lost touch with productive reality. People were trading contracts for flowers that hadn't even bloomed yet because actual productive investment opportunities had dried up. When the bubble popped, it revealed the truth. The Dutch had built an empire on infrastructure that someone else could replicate. And once they did, the whole thing unwound. Germany's trap is more subtle, but just as real. For 20 years, the German model worked because China was growing at 10% a year and needed machine tools, factory equipment, luxury cars. Because Southern Europe was borrowing cheap euros and buying German goods. Because the United States ran massive trade deficits and absorbed exports from everyone. All three of those conditions are reversing. China's growth rate has been cut in half. They're also moving up the value chain. They don't just want to buy German cars anymore, they want to make them, and they're succeeding. BYD now sells more electric vehicles than Volkswagen. Southern Europe is drowning in debt and can't keep borrowing to buy German exports. The euro crisis never really ended. It just went quiet. And the United States is increasingly skeptical of running trillion-dollar trade deficits to subsidize other countries' export models. tariffs, reshoring, industrial policy, the entire political conversation has shifted. So what happens to Germany when its customers disappear? This is where it gets uncomfortable. Germany underinvested in its domestic economy for 2 decades. Infrastructure is crumbling. Public investment as a share of GDP is among the lowest in Europe. Internet speeds are slower than Romania. Bridges are literally falling apart. The famous German efficiency was always a narrow kind of efficiency. Great at making things for export, terrible at maintaining the foundations of a modern society. And now, just when Germany needs to pivot, to rebuild domestic demand, to invest in new industries like AI and renewable energy, it's broke. The debt brake, written into the Constitution, limits federal borrowing to 0.35% of GDP. There's no fiscal room to maneuver. Here's the irony that nobody wants to say out loud. Germany spent 2 decades lecturing the rest of Europe about fiscal discipline, balanced budgets, living within your means. They wagged their fingers at Greece, at Spain, at Italy. They demanded austerity as the price of solidarity. And the whole time, Germany was running its own version of recklessness, not through borrowing, but through underinvestment. They were so obsessed with balanced budgets that they forgot to maintain the machine. Now German industry is facing a competitiveness crisis. Energy costs have spiked since the war in Ukraine. The decision to shut down nuclear power early and depend on Russian gas looks catastrophic in hindsight. Major manufacturers are quietly moving production to the United States and Asia, where energy is cheaper and markets are growing. BASF, the largest chemical company in Europe, announced it's shrinking its home operations for the first time in its 157-year history. Volkswagen is considering closing factories in Germany, also a first. Miele, the luxury appliance maker, is shifting production to Poland. This isn't a recession, it's a structural unraveling. The model that worked for 20 years doesn't work anymore, and there's no alternative model ready to replace it. The Dutch eventually recovered. They became a financial center instead of a trading empire. They adapted. But it took decades and the loss of global dominance. Germany still has time. It has educated workers, strong institutions, technological know-how. But time is the one thing you can't print or export. The question isn't whether Germany will change. It's whether it will change fast enough. Because here's the thing about economic models built on a single assumption. When that assumption breaks, everything breaks at once. The Dutch learned that with tulips, Germany's learning it with cars, and the rest of Europe is about to find out what happens when the engine of the continent starts sputtering. The math doesn't care about reputation. It only cares about what's real.